Hey y'all, welcome to this week's episode of Race Kiki with Jonathan Lee. You'll have to forgive me. She's in Puerto Rico this week. Anyway, this isn't about me. This particular episode, I get to chat with a beautiful young human who's the daughter. Hold on, I'm getting in a hammock. Ooh, Lord. The daughter of Nicole Lynn. I had her on a couple of weeks ago. Her name is Brooke Ashley Portley. Or Brooke Ashley underscore Virgo on TikTok. Go follow her. She's amazing. We talk race and racism. Remember, we can't fix a problem we're afraid to talk about. So listen to this conversation while I languinate in this hammock in Puerto Rico. Remember, be incredible. Well, hello, Brooke. Welcome to Race Kiki with Jonathan Lee.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You know, this is actually a first for me. We've never met.
No,
However, I know your mama.
right.
That's how black folks, girl, I know your mom. I know your people. And your mother is Nicole, and she and I had a conversation 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And, some of the things that she shared with me were very interesting because I moved to Colorado when I was 20 years old,
Hmm.
and I left when I was 39. And
Gotcha.
I moved first to Colorado Springs, and that was why, and just just so it was even a military base, and it was just so
Mhm.
everything was so white, and I was
Yeah.
coming from Mississippi. And so that was like, oh, okay, now I'm in Colorado. All my friends are
Yeah.
white, and I'm listening, I'm bopping all the little white music. Then I get out of the army and I move to Denver. At that point, my boyfriend's white, and all my friends are white. I'm still bopping to the white music. And I'm like,
Mhm.
where are all the black folks? And I was looking and I was looking and I was looking and I was looking.
They out there. They do.
Maybe 6 years before I left, I found black folks, and they were inside of Tia Creff, um, is where I met your mother.
Mhm.
And I watched her glide through these super white offices, just dignified and lovely, and laughing off all of this foolishness that was being
Mhm.
thrown at her every day. The questions about, oh, are you sure those numbers are right? I need to check with so and so. Are you sure you've researched that? I need to check. I've seen people gaslight her, and I saw the
Yeah.
way that she navigated the world,
Hmm.
and I had such a love and joy and respect for her. So I had her on, and I wanted to talk, and you're now her child. You were raised in Denver. I'm
Yeah.
like you, young person. When did you learn about race?
Um, there was like two instances, but they were in the same year. Um, it was when I was about 10 years old. The first instance was my mom had cooked for the first time for Thanksgiving. Usually we went to my grandparents' house for
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving, both the sides. But that was the first time she actually decided that she wanted to cook. It was bomb too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. I have no doubt
uh,
about that.
yeah, we were taught well. Um, but she needed to go to the store to grab a couple more things. So we were heading to the store, and after she grabbed the stuff that she needed, she was in the checkout line, and I was in the makeup aisle because I needed to re up on my lip gloss.
Mm-hmm.
And after I saw her check out, I went to go put it back, and I put it back within like the sea of mascaras they had in the aisle. So I didn't put it back exactly where it was. And as we were walking out, one of the store clerks pulled me aside, and he was like, "Can you step aside, please?" And I was just like, okay. And my mom is just as equally confused.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, do we have to take this the hard way or the easy way? And I'm like 10 years old. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, I'm gonna need you to empty your pockets. So it was kind of one of those instances where you just like empty your pockets and it's like a paper clip, a string, and some
Right.
lint. Like I
Like
didn't have
10-year-olds
anything
have.
on me. And he just was very persistent, and he was like, and he had a firm grip on my arm, which was starting to piss my mom off. And
Uh-huh.
he was like, so I guess we got to take this the hard way. And I'm like, can you please explain what is going on? My mom was like, what is going on? And she was, the dude was like, I saw her take the lip gloss. She's stealing. And I was like, I don't have anything. You just saw me empty out my pockets. I don't have anything. And my mom told me to look at her and tell her that I'm telling the truth. Did I steal the lip gloss or not? I'm like, Mom, I don't have it. I put it back in the aisle, but I didn't put it back where it was. So I can go point it out to you. And so we walked over to the aisle, and there that lip gloss was in the sea of mascaras. It obviously didn't belong there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's right there. That's the lip gloss I had in my hand. For some reason, that still wasn't good enough. And he kept trying to take me upstairs. And at that point, my mom lost it. She asked for the manager. She threw about every can in the in the bag. Like, she was like, no, you are not going to sit here and treat my daughter like this. I didn't have anything. She ended up getting a refund for all the stuff that she bought. And we ended up going to like King Supers or something to go get the stuff instead. Um, but the fact that, even though I had the proof, it did search me, and I ended up emptying my pockets, and it still wasn't good enough. And this was a white man, like, accusing me of a 10-year-old of stealing. And later on in that year, we ended up moving into a townhouse, and everything was fine at first. And then one day my window got egged, and didn't know why, didn't know who it came from. So we just kind of ignored it. And
Mm-hmm.
then one day after school, when my mom picked me up from my grandma's house and we went back home, we had signs posted on our garage door saying, go back to where you came from, insert racial slur. At that moment, it was kind of still confusing because I still didn't experience, or I didn't realize what racism was.
Mm-hmm.
But at that moment, I started to actually truly understand. And my mom, and like the look on my grandma's face when she saw the signs, it was like the soul left her body. And she was terrified for us, because coming to find out, there was a KKK family in the actual townhouse complex that did that. So my mom's rebuttal was actually pretty sweet, because she posted signs saying, calling him pretty much a coward, and she posted them on everybody's door because she didn't know exactly where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say that was the best move, but
That was a bomb ass move.
yeah.
Where in Denver was this?
It was actually in Aurora off of Alameda, kind of close to Havana. There is a school I used to attend. It used to be called Aurora Christian Academy, but I think they changed it to like the Lotus School or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a Red Lobster across the street from that school on Alameda in Aurora.
Okay.
There's like a set of townhouse literally next to that school.
Okay.
And that's where we were. And at that moment, like, I started like at school researching about Colorado's past, and coming to find out Colorado has a huge past of racism.
Please share more. I will lean in.
Colorado, there's like a whole PBS special about it right now. I think it came out like 5 or 6 years ago, but they were talking about how Colorado was the second in nation for the most KKK members in one state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Colorado used to be like the main meeting grounds for the KKK, so everybody
Mm-hmm.
from all over the country would come to Colorado
Mm-hmm.
and meet up pretty much. So it's kind of funny to me when I hear like if something racist happens here and it like goes viral, everybody's like, "What? Colorado? It's a bunch of hippies." I'm like, y'all don't know shit.
Y'all don't know shit. You need to
Y'all
look.
don't know shit.
Because
Like
what they're
Colorado,
thinking, what they think is all Colorado is like Boulder,
yeah.
and it
Mhm.
is not.
No, it's not. They think we're all a bunch of stoner hippies, and I'm like, no.
No, you can be a stoner and a racist at the same time. I've seen it.
Exactly. Hmm.
Seen it. Um, what's it like now? What's it like navigating the world after watching what we saw last year?
Um, Honest to God, I mean, Denver kind of still looks like a third world country from all of that. Um,
How
in my
so?
opinion.
What happened there? During
Uh, During all the riots, when the riots started in Minnesota, and then
uh-huh,
it started spreading across the whole globe pretty much,
uh-huh.
it did end up coming to Denver too as well. And they did a whole bunch of protests. There was riots. They have some of the stores are still boarded up to this day. Um, they have the Capitol kind of fenced off.
Okay.
Um, and at first it was peaceful, like when they were protesting, but you got those agitators out there. There was somebody that tried to run somebody over with a Jeep. I think that made the news.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I saw on the news maybe last week where the 29-year-old fella was being beat down by the cops.
Hmm.
And that was in Aurora, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I actually live on the same block. Actually, the building next door to where Elijah McClain was killed too. Um, and there was mad protests during that time frame too, outside of his memorial, which has
Mm-hmm.
been reduced to nothing now. Um, and I think people at that moment was just tired after seeing George Floyd go through that on Living Color. I think it just kind of sparked a rage, but I also kind of feel like there was a little bit of fake rage mixed in there.
Well, no, it was performative rage.
Yeah, performative rage. That's a
Yeah,
better
because
word.
right after all of that happened, I saw, as well as you did, because I'm sure living in Colorado, you have a fair amount of white friends. And
Hmm.
after the events, after every event, you see their outrage and you see them posting and making statements and what have you. But
Yeah.
2 days later, when you want to bring up that subject, it's well, we're talking about this now, or
Yeah.
we're oh yeah, I didn't even remember that was going on, or it's
Hmm.
not the cause of the moment,
Yeah.
so I'm using my voice elsewhere. So
Hmm.
what that means to me is your voice wasn't worth shit the first time.
Yeah. There was like I have a friend where she kind of is like she gives me like this hippie vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Um and she like in her profile picture she has like Black Lives Matter and all that stuff in her just her profile picture.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a meme that I saw on Facebook that I reposted, and it was talking about the same way that police kill black men is the same way doctors kill black women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that just kind of sparked something in her, and I wrote a dissertation talking about my experience on how I'm constantly dismissed by the medical field in this state.
Mm-hmm.
Um, about 3 years ago, I dislocated my hip, and it was dismissed as a bruise, even though I could not even walk at all.
It was dismissed as a bruise.
Yeah, I got dismissed as a bruise. Um, they did an x-ray and everything, but like as I'm trying to explain how it happened,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the nurses and doctors are just sitting there laughing. And I'm just like, it's not funny, but I'm in like horrible pain right now. I even told the doctor, like, it was my right leg. And I was like, I can lift my left leg. Like, I'm lifting it up and down. I am thinking about lifting my right leg and it's not moving.
Right.
It hurts. It's just not moving either. And it
Mm-hmm.
didn't take until like a few months later, I just tried to like heal it on my own because I wasn't obviously going to give it. They just dismissed it and gave me cyclobenzaprine or whatever that tranquilizer is and called it a day.
Okay.
Sure as hell slapped me with a $3,000, ER visit bill.
Obviously. Well, you
Yeah,
need that.
yeah, of course. We're going to charge you out the ass, but we're not going
And
to help.
laugh at you
Yeah.
and not believe you. But go on.
Yeah. And it didn't take until I went to the chiropractor because I started having lower back issues.
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm a delivery driver, I have to sit in the car.
Right.
And it became hard for me to sit in the car. Like I was literally bent over because my lower back was on fire. And so I went to the chiropractor, and the first thing when I'm laying on the table, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, "Did you dislocate your leg or something?" And I was like, how did he know without even using an x-ray? And the doctors in the ER who x-rayed my hip dismissed it. I don't get it.
They were just that. If I were a betting man, I would say that they were just trying to milk whatever insurance you have for whatever it is, not necessarily looking at or reviewing any of the charts and or believing you because you're a Black woman, so you're just strong and you're just here trying to get something from us.
Yeah,
So
we got different nerve endings.
yeah, we have a higher pain threshold. So you're just complaining. Take these Tylenol, take your ass home. So
Yeah.
go on with your story. I'm sorry, I was just paraphrasing for my own nerves.
Oh no. It was definitely nerve-wracking. Like even my boyfriend was getting frustrated, like, but like when I'm explaining this in my little dissertation to the meme, my friend comments and was like, well, I don't think it's fair to exclude everybody out of that. What are you talking about? And she was like, well, this happens all across the board. It doesn't just happen to Black people. And I'm like, okay, but the stats actually prove that Black people are disproportionately affected in the medical field than white counterparts. I was like, how is it that a Black mom and a white mom in the same hospital can experience two different things giving birth?
Mm-hmm.
And most likely the Black woman is going to die, not because of pre-existing conditions, but due to neglect.
Due to neglect.
Yeah.
You know what's really interesting about that is when we point out a fact that disagrees with somebody's perception, instead of digesting the fact that we've just shared, it is always met with devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But you didn't consider this, you didn't consider that. But you didn't consider my point, is what I'm saying.
Right.
I know all of your points. I know all your fucking history. You don't know any of mine.
Yeah. You guys don't let a single day go by without us knowing.
So, shut up. Sit down, and I'm trying to teach you something. Just hush up. Calm down.
Exactly.
Because believe it or not, this conversation isn't about you. I know it's revolutionary, it might blow your mind, but for once, this isn't centered around you. We're going to talk about me for like 6 minutes. I know it's going to devastate you, but I'm going to need these 6 minutes. It might take longer.
Yeah, her rebuttal is that, well, my husband is a VA and he goes through the same thing. And I was like, well, we all know how the hospitals treat VAs, and you're okay with that?
And you're
Like, so
okay.
basically, you're dismissing what I go through to prove your point, but that's still proving my point, and you're okay with that. But yet you have Black Lives Matter in your little uh profile picture, but you don't want to acknowledge all racism, just the racism you're comfortable acknowledging.
Well, only the racism that's fashionable.
Yeah,
I don't want you to tell me anything that's going to make me uncomfortable. How dare
yeah.
you?
How dare you? How dare
My
you tell me?
delicate feelings. My delicate feelings.
It was just like I didn't freaking get it. I was just like, okay, girl, like go off, whatever. If you're comfortable with that, you can't sit here and preach that you're for Black lives if you're not for all Black lives, and you don't want to hear everybody else's story. And that was like a running thing, and I still see it to this day. Like even when I'm on TikTok and stuff, I'm just like that one girl, I don't know if you saw that. There was one girl that broke TikTok talking about that she don't like white people, and all the fake allies came out, really exposed themselves. I'm just like, see, this is why this is never gonna go away. I feel like it's never gonna go away because y'all want to half-ass your understanding of it.
Because when you actually try to unpack it, I just, right before we started this conversation, I was reading an article about critical race theory. And Brooke, I don't
Yeah.
wait, let me see if I know where to begin in my frustration with this
Mhm.
because I think if we change the name to what it actually is, which is history, in history, because our white counterparts, they love history, but the history that our white counterparts know has been whitewashed for their, I'm sorry, it's been sanitized for their consumption.
Sanitized. That's a
It's
great
been
way to put it.
sanitized. It's
Yeah.
gotten out all of the uncomfortable bits. And, George Washington did all of these things. And,
Yeah,
Frederick, I'm sorry,
Christopher Columbus.
like everybody, we did all of these things. We came over and we took this land from who exactly? Okay, and what happened when we came over? And when my favorite is when they tell us to go back where we came from.
I'm like, tell
like,
me where exactly that is.
Tell me where that is. Matter of fact, why don't you go back to where you came from? Because you're not supposed to be here either. Why don't we both go back to where we came from?
The only people that should be here is the Native Americans and Mexicans. That's it.
But when you say these things, because history. If we're going to talk about history, let's talk about history, all of history.
All of it. Not the sugar-coated version.
Not the sugar-coated, romanticized versions.
Yeah.
Not the versions where they take little black kids like me to plantations and show me slaves and tell me that my people were happy.
Did you see that one where they had the kids picking cotton?
Girl.
And singing Negro spirituals.
For that authentic thing. No, look, I was watching this thing on the tube the other day called Hate Thy Neighbor. It's this British comedian who goes to meet less than smart people. No, misguided folks. I don't want to call anybody stupid. I'm just gonna say your choices are suspect. Anyway, meeting less than smart people. And there was this black fellow. He called himself the Black Rebel. His name is Kenny or Kevin or Cletus or something. Anyway, I don't want to remember his name because I don't want to give him too much. Anyway, he was a Confederate flag supporter. He would host rallies, and he went to the Unite the Night rally and what have you. And they were having this flag raising in South Carolina, 2018, and there was this black woman, older black woman. She'd seen some things, and she was dressed like a slave. I'm sorry, like an enslaved woman. Like an enslaved woman. That is the correct way to refer to our ancestors. Anyway, and here she is talking about how the Confederate flag is talking about her heritage because her people, she got white in her family too, and it didn't matter if that white man raped her. Maybe she wanted it. Maybe she wanted it. If it weren't for my ancestors, my white ancestors, I wouldn't be here. I love the Confederate flag. I love the Confederate soldiers. I love. And I'm sitting here at the TV like, you dumb bitch. And and I was trying because she's a woman of a particular season,
Yeah.
and I'm like, she's like my nana's age, and I'm thinking, you dumb bitch,
Right.
you've been walking around here all your life, and you probably babysit many people's children. You probably have, if that's your particular mindset, and you've been running up behind white folks looking for their approval and making yourself subservient to navigate these worlds.
Yeah.
What kind of toxicity have you placed in the generations that you've touched? Walking around with that kind of stupidness coming out of your mouth.
Talk about it.
Okay.
Some people's children, I swear.
Girl. Now you told me earlier that your other half, your boo, your love thing, is now he's a man of a what ethnicity? How does he identify himself? I only ask because it's going to lead me to my next topic of conversation.
He identifies as Cuban and white.
Okay. Now, navigating the world in Colorado, in the spiciness that it is, hotbed racism, quiet racism, polite racism, the looks, you feel them.
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like for you in that particular pairing?
We definitely have two different experiences. I'll put it like I'll experience something, but he won't see it like that. It's just more of a general. I like to say it means well, but there are some things that you just cannot look past when it comes to racism, but you just won't see it. I think that's just one of those things that you won't know until you're actually in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
He's not racist at all. He loves everybody equally.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to say he hates everybody equally too.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that statement. I've heard that. I asked that because my other half, as everyone knows, is this beautiful, beautiful white man. And when we first started our courtship, I'm his first black fella. He dipped in the swirly rainbow in our biracial friends, but I'm his first original. Anyway, we had a really interesting navigation moment in our relationship. We talk about race a lot, obviously, because I talk about race for a living, but we talk about race a lot. And it started on a day we went to this terrible restaurant, and the waiter was being a fucking douche. And he was like not paying attention to me. He was only talking to my boyfriend. He put like all the food in front of him. It was awful. But I'm sitting there and I'm all like, you know what? I'm not gonna pop off. I'm not gonna do that. This is going to be a teachable moment. So as we were walking down the street, I was like, how'd you see that? He's all like, well, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you what I saw. Blah, 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 blah. And he's all like, I didn't see that at all. I was like, well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
something
kind of,
you need to learn how to see.
yeah. It's
And
kind of
now,
how it is.
yeah, because we're going, we, we went to see, we went to see Black Klansman. On a Tuesday afternoon in the middle of the day.
I can only imagine.
In Lincoln Center in Manhattan. And so naturally, everybody in the room was white except for me. And so I'm sitting here and I'm looking around and I'm all like, okay. Watch Black Klansman. And it was like older white folks all around. There were some Jewish folk. It was just like just a sea of white folks. And then I'm looking, I was like, shit. And the seats were all cushy and they were all delicious and Scott's all and I'm just looking around. I was like, somebody has to come in here. So 3 minutes before the movie comes on, who shows up? Here we come. There are 3 people, 3 Black folks that came in.
Can't be on top of nothing.
And then and they sat right behind me and Scott. So my shoulders finally relaxed, right? And then I saw them looking around. I saw them. And then we made eye contact. The 4 of us made eye contact. We all nodded and we watched the movie. After the movie was over, Scott and I are having margaritas because we drink a lot of margaritas. Anyway, we're having margaritas. And he's all like, I saw that. I was like, you saw what? He's all like, I saw what happened when those 3 Black folks walked in. I was like, as long as you saw that, he's all like, I have a question. I was like, we need to know where each other is just in case shit pops off.
Mm-hmm.
We need to know where the exits are. We need to know where our fellow Black and brown folks are. We need to know, especially if we're about to watch Black Klansman.
Right. Like in a sea, like pepper, lost in salt right now. We gotta know.
Okay, y'all here. But though, and we like joke about it, and we make mention of those things when we walk into rooms to kind of diffuse the situation and to like look, we all know what's happening here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It like I've had a lot of white friends.
Who you
It's
tell?
not that I wasn't near because my high school was predominantly Black.
Okay.
But the band, however, which was what I was heavily involved in, was majority white. And
really?
Yeah.
A predominantly Black high school with a predominantly white band?
I mean, because that's where like most of the white people I feel like was more comfortable in. It was in band and theater. But it is a predominantly Black high school. Well, I should say people of color because it was kind of like split between Latinx and Black people, and then there's the white.
I'm stumped by. I'm sorry. I'm stumped by that.
It was.
Look, I'm floored. Okay. That was the moment. You just floored me. Go on. I didn't hear anything you said after the white band at the Black high school. I'm sorry. It's just that doesn't track in my head. But
Well,
That is
most
your
of our
experience.
teachers were white, and that's the students themselves were mostly black because where the school was located was where predominantly black people live.
Okay.
The further
But the
out in the work,
band though,
more
the
it gets.
music, get the rallies, and then you get the shoulders going, and the
Yeah,
girls
we
flipping
kind
their
of
hair and shaking their young.
we kind
No.
of were very the white style, or
Oh, okay. Because I went to a black high school and we had the girls flipping hair and shaking titties and doing high kicks and shit.
we tried that, and I'm pretty much the only person in the band that could dance. So
Got you. I got you. Okay.
it didn't work because I was drum major. So
Okay. Okay. So there was just some basic, regular music.
hmm I
Okay.
wouldn't say regular because our director did push us. We played music that most high schools wouldn't even touch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I like when it's funny because when I look at HBCUs and stuff, and I look at their marching band, I'm like, I really wish I was in that. I
I
really wish I
grew
was
up
in
in
that.
Mississippi, right? And I have this visceral memory of going to a parade in Natchez, Mississippi. And do you know who the Prancing J Sets are from
Hmm.
Jackson State University?
Yeah,
These
they're iconic.
beautiful, beautiful women, honey, they were high kicking and hip switching and hair flipping. And I remember when I was little baby Glamazon, I looked up at my mama and I was like, Mama, I want to be a J set. And she says, okay, baby.
Like, right.
She's all like, oh, okay, baby.
Okay.
But there's just something in my soul, so I understand.
Hmm.
Did you go to college in Colorado as well?
Briefly, I dropped out when my grandma got sick, my mom's
Mm-hmm.
mom.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I went to CCD. I went to a community college, so I went to
Mm-hmm.
CCD. My plan was to transfer to a university after I got my prereqs out of the way to kind
Mm-hmm.
of get deeper. But I just ended up not going back after my grandma died. Now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. I know it has something to do with the entertainment field because I am always intrigued by that. But um, even on college, being on the Auraria campus downtown,
Uh-huh.
uh, it's different.
What do you mean?
It's just different. I would say that the campus itself is pretty diverse, but you'll still experience the microaggression. Um, People always I will be sitting in the grass doing my homework, and I always right now it's pulled back, but I always have my hair in these big huge poofs. My hair is long,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
or a one top poof or an afro or something. Somebody always got to
Right.
feel the need to come up. I don't know them from Adam. I'm up here minding my business, doing my homework, studying, and somebody always got to come up and touch my hair like I'm some sideshow.
You know what? How does that? How do you navigate that?
Um, with my friends, I don't really mind because I know their intentions. It's not like they're being microaggressive or anything. They just love how soft my hair is, and I do it to them just to
Mm-hmm.
make sure they know how it feels and we on the same page. But I don't mind it. But when strangers do it, it irks the living crap out of me, and I literally just go like this and don't touch me, please.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I just want. I don't care what you just want. I'm not a zoo. You ask if you can touch my hair. First off, you don't just take it upon yourself to put your dirty fingers, which I don't know if they've been up your ass or what. Know how many of y'all don't wash your hands.
Now, look, I don't understand what I didn't understand what it was all about until I started growing my wig out. And back when I had the little baby twists, I was hosting this party and this guy comes up and he's all like, ooh. And he's like in mid reach. And here I am bending all back, all
You're doing the
seductively and
Matrix.
shit. And I'm all like, yes, Matrix bending. And he's all like, I just want to. And I said, okay, I'm going to stop you right there. I don't understand what gives you the authority or the agency on my body.
Exactly.
Well, you don't have to get all serious about it. This is my space. This is my person.
Yes.
Why do you feel like you can violate me that way?
Exactly.
Then he gets angry at me. And I say, I don't understand why you're so angry. I don't understand why you're so hostile. I'm not hostile. I'm asking you questions. You were touching me. I don't want you touching me.
Right. I barely even know you. Like,
I don't care if I do know you.
right.
I don't care. I'm not coming up and putting my hands in your hair.
Right.
That'd be the equivalent of me walking up and grabbing your dick. I'm sure you'd like that, but I don't want to do that.
Right.
I don't want to do that because that's disgusting. There's a t-shirt I need to send you the link to. It says, no, you cannot touch my hair. It's my favorite to wear when I'm out and about the world. So I'm going to send you the link. You're going to love it.
I should. Because, like, people will ask me, like, because they're so infatuated by, like, how long my hair is right now currently is to the middle of my back.
Come on, hair.
Right. It took forever to get it to that point because my hair was extremely unhealthy. Where I did the big chop, which my mom was mad about. She was like, all that I spent braiding your hair, you just gonna cut it all off. But
why did you do the chop? Because all the perming and stuff?
Yeah, I did the chop because of all the perming and low key just wanted short hair. I did like the Halle Berry pixie cut. And pulled it off too. I loved it. But I just really wanted to start from ground zero. And since then, I was 19 when that happened. I have not processed my hair or anything. I look stick it in one or two styles if it's not in braids. And I leave it alone. And that's when, like, halfway through my natural hair journey is when I started figuring out, when I really started paying attention to stop letting people touch my hair, is when it actually started growing. And I don't go to just anybody to braid my hair. I go to one person. I don't go to anybody to get like hair service, like shampoo and trims. And I go to one person. And I've been with that person. That's the same person that cut my hair all the way off. Is the same person I still stick with because she knows exactly what to do. And my friend who is full Navajo, she was explaining to me that, and I know that certain African cultures too, it's like this too, is that the hair is the extension of the soul and you can't just let anybody touch it.
I've heard that.
And that's why they don't let anybody touch. You have to go through a whole ceremony in order to touch it.
I've actually heard that. Someone told me that.
Yeah. And my grandma's hair was the same. She didn't hardly ever let anybody touch her hair at all. Like barely even me and my mom could touch her hair, and her hair was like practically down to her butt. And she just don't let nobody touch her. I'm just like started putting two together. I'm just like, okay, people have intentions, and I do believe that like spiritually people have intentions whether they realize it or not. And if the hair is an extension of the soul, every time you touch a person, you are leaving a print on that soul. So I just completely stopped letting people touch my hair at all. Like, don't even come near me. We will scrap.
I don't even understand why it has to be. And I love everything that you said. That is such a beautiful and spiritual way of looking at your hair. And mine is, why in the fuck are you touching me?
Right. But don't get twisted in the back of my head. Like, why
They're
do
like,
you?
why are you touching me? I don't understand. I don't understand why you're touching me. Because why are you touching me? We were out, Scott and I were out maybe a earlier this week, having some drinks, watching a cute little drag show. And as we're sitting there waiting for the show to start, this guy walks by and stops and says, "Oh my God, you are so handsome," to Scott. Yeah, he's all like, "Thank you, that's so nice." And he's all like, "Oh my God, you too." And then he reaches to grab our faces. And we both kind of lean back. We're like, "What, girl? No." He's, "What? Did I do something wrong?" I was like, "You did several things wrong."
Where do we start?
We're in this is coronavirus.
Right.
And face touching.
Child.
Face touching. Hair touching. I can't.
I can't.
I can't.
I was on TikTok and there was a guy that compiled like the responses of, he did actually both Black people and Native American people. Because he first showed a clip of this gorgeous, she could be a model or something, gorgeous, tall Black woman with the huge afro. And she was filming herself in the bathroom. All of a sudden, this white lady comes up and tries to put her hands in her hair. And she was like, "Do not." And his point was like, why do you guys feel the need that you have to constantly touch our hair? And when we tell you to stop, you choose to gaslight us instead of say, "Oh, well, it's a compliment. I'm so intrigued. It's a compliment." And I'm like, no, it's microaggressive.
Yes, it is.
Actually.
What you're doing is not recognizing me as a fellow human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you could admire a beautiful person you can admire anybody. You can throw compliments all you want to. You don't have to touch me.
You don't have to touch. Like,
you don't have to touch me.
Every time that happens, it feels like I'm some type of like sideshow, you know?
Like the Hottentot Venus. Do you know who she was?
You're like, oh, let's dig deep in here. Let's like.
There is an African woman. They called her the Hottentot Venus. She was enslaved and taken over to Europe, and people would parade her around because her butt was so big and poke her and keep her like a zoo animal. France had her body, her skeleton, for many, many, many years on display. They finally returned it back to Africa, maybe in the 2010s or so.
And that's what people got to understand too. It's just like,
there's
when
history.
we get testy about wanting to touch us, is that they used to put Black people in zoos.
Yes.
Like, we literally were treated like animals. We were not considered human at all. They would rip our hair out and stuff it into the furniture.
And what's really interesting is in cases you're speaking past tense, and you could also be speaking present.
Yeah.
You could also be speaking in present tense, because you've made mention of TikTok quite frequently, and there is a landmine of Black creativity being stripped, being robbed away.
I saw that Sunny on The View was calling that out. Like, so many people are starting to call it out. I was just telling my boyfriend last night how messed up the algorithm is. So I've been trying to build my platform on there and build on like Instagram. I'm not really that hot on Facebook anymore, but but I was telling him, I'm like, yeah, there was a TikToker that went viral because he was talking about how, I think it was in the creator portal, and in the bio, if you said anything about Black, like I'm pro-Black, Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, the app will literally flag you and tell you to correct the bio because it goes against their community standards. But if you say you are for pro-white and you like white supremacy and the alt-right and white power, it lets you actually post it.
That doesn't surprise me in the least bit. It's so interesting when we talk about racism because people think it's just like a singular person being a dickhead. And that has nothing to, you can be as dickhead as you want to. It's the system that I have a problem with. It's the institution that I have a problem with. It's the education that I have a problem with. It's the equality that I have a problem with.
Exactly.
You can be as, I don't care, fly your Confederate flag, show your hate, be as forthcoming with your dislike of me as you fucking want to. I don't give a damn because I don't give a shit about you. I don't. If that's the path that you've chosen, go with God and go over there.
Yeah.
But what I don't want is policies and institutions and structures that reaffirm this idiotic behavior.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was like constantly telling my friends that say that they don't see color.
That's bullshit. What you're doing is erasing my lived experience to your white narrative.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I cut you off. Go on.
It's not the fact that you see color. I want you to see my.
See it. Uh-oh, mute it. Uh-oh, she's muted, America. Okay, she's back. Nope.
Okay, somebody called me. Sorry. But I was like, I want you to see my melanin popping in the sun. I don't care that you see color. It's the treatment that I see you treat people based off of the color you see on that person is what matters.
Because of, you know why? Because we have been segregated by design for the entirety of this country. The reason why white folks are tripping over and saying all this dumb, idiotic shit, it's because their moms and dads said it, their grandparents said it, their great-grandparents said it, and what have you. And so if you're in an insulated society and you don't have any black folks around you, you don't have any Mexican folks around you, you don't have any Asian folks around you, and all of the information that you're seeing is reaffirming all this dumb bullshit that your grandparents have told you. When you interact with us, you are bound to say some dumb, stupid shit. You're bound to say it. And then when we say, no, girl, that disagrees with my lived experience, let me show you what the world actually looks like. And then we pull the covers off of your privilege, and then you're like, no, oh, no, America. You're like, girl, this is the way it's always been.
Yeah, I like to say, just because someone puts on a different mask doesn't mean it went away. It's still right in front of you.
Right in front of you. It doesn't look the way that your parents told you it looked, so you're not thinking that what's happening in voting right now across the country looks wickedly like Jim Crow. Wickedly.
We're taking like 50 steps back.
When I was watching the news the other day and I'm looking at the COVID map of this Delta variant, it looks wickedly like the American map pre-Civil War. It looks wickedly like that. When I look at all of the trans policies and all of it looks wickedly like the Civil War.
Yeah.
And I see all of these things, I hear all of this vitriol being spewed and all of these stupid, idiotic ideas that you're like, you can't honestly still believe this. Girl, why don't you have any black friends? And the reason why you don't have any black friends is because your offices are all white. Because, it's a culture fit. You've got to fit in with the culture of the office. Or your friend group is all white, but there might be a black sprinkle in here, but don't get too black because don't get too black. Don't make me uncomfortable.
Definitely have to post it a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
I gave that up after I watched George Floyd and I was listening and I was involved in all of these networks. I used to make suits on Madison Avenue, honey, for
Mom's telling me
billionaires,
about
honey.
that. That's
Yes,
awesome.
honey, doing it. I couldn't I couldn't go back to doing that, knowing that the people I was interacting with didn't give a shit about me.
Yeah.
I couldn't
That's
do
how I'm starting to become, like, my patience for it is starting to
and having to navigate who I am or having to apologize for who I am to gain the favor of some mediocre dude with money. Fuck that. I have no intentions of doing that. Now, do I love styling and making clothes and playing around with fashion? Absolutely, but I do it other ways.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's better your time is better spent talking. My time is better spent talking and trying to talk to people about racism. I know I'm talking a lot. Go, you talk.
Oh no, you're fine. I'm enjoying it. I'm agreeing too. Uh,
Because
with my friends, like, I just didn't realize, like, also, like, growing up, because I still have the same friends I've had since I was, like, my best friend I've had since I was 10 years old,
mm-hmm.
and he's actually now transitioning um from female to male, but he's also Filipino too as well. So,
Okay.
like,
Okay.
I've always try to diversify my circle as much as I can with the resources I have out here, because it is just
It's
like
hard.
predominantly
Girl,
white.
it's
So,
hard.
but
Can I ask a question?
mhm.
Do you find do you find it hard to stand firm in your blackness in that space?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. At least with my friends, they know I am who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they, um, I'm a very blunt person also too as well. I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in sugarcoating anything. Um, there's no sense in that.
Yeah. Who has time for
Especially
that?
for adults. Like, if it's a kid, yeah, I'll sugarcoat it. But, like, if we're all adults, there's no point in that. And I notice it, like, in workplaces more, um, where people try to undermine me
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or
Um,
gaslight you.
or gaslight me, exactly. Like when I worked for Nordstrom, which was actually the last job I've had corporation wise until I started becoming a delivery driver, and I've just been doing that ever since.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in the cart services department, and like, training, everything was kind of fine until there was, like, one red flag where this hotshot lawyer in the South called it hot. Like, the whole room heard this lady on this phone.
Uh-huh.
And she was a black woman, but coming to find out, her and her family were followed throughout Nordstrom Rack. And then they waited until they got to her car to accuse the whole family of stealing.
Of course.
And the whole situation got so bad that the Nordstrom brothers themselves had to step in. They sent an email out to everybody just in case, people, because I think it made news or something, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
people called in, they would ask about it. Nobody really asked about it, honestly, but they had to go out there and personally apologize to her for the stuff that was happening in one of their stores. But after I got out of training, one of my coworkers that was in my training class, our supervisor sent us a seating arrangement for the team that we were going to be in. And she was like, "You need to look at the seating arrangement." And I was like, "Did she send it or something?" She was like, "Yeah. If you didn't get it, I'm going to forward it to you and tell me what you noticed." Once I loaded it, because we had already met the rest of the people that were already on the team,
Mm-hmm.
what I noticed immediately is that she literally had all black people in one row and all white people in one row. And I just looked at her, and she was like,
Y'all can't hear these lips pressed if you're watching on it, if you're listening on Spotify, but lips are pressed.
Yeah, that was
Um,
flag number one with me. And then not to mention my supervisor herself, she wouldn't help any of us. Like if we had a question or we had something that a supervisor can only handle, she would like
mhm.
shoo us away and tell us to go ask this chat system that they're just on Facebook. They're not even paying attention to the chat. And I'm like, but you're right here. You're my supervisor and you're right here. But if somebody white walked up to her, she had no problem helping them. None. And there was a lady that sat next to me that was already on the team before I got there. And I
Mhm.
pulled into the parking lot one day. She was in her car and she honked at me to come over here. And this woman she's a sweet black woman and she was crying,
Mhm.
shaking, everything.
Mhm.
And the first thing that came out of her mouth, she was like, I know you only been on the floor for like a few days, but do you have a sense of segregation on the floor? And that's when it confirmed, like, Nordstrom is racist as fuck.
Mhm.
Nordstrom is racist as hell. And, you know, I tried to push through I would get all kinds of microaggressive comments, or, you know, I try to ignore my supervisor who is clearly got some type of prejudice going on.
Mhm.
If she's gonna split us up like that, you know, I mean, literal black people, white people.
Mhm. Mhm.
And uh, my final straw with them was when I came back for my birthday, because me and my boyfriend's birthday are back to back. And
That's convenient.
yeah, yeah, it was the 26th.
Nice.
Yeah, it works out when trying to celebrate. We just combine.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, but we went to Blackhawk and I just took the 2 days off and I came back on the 27th to a final. Never been written up, never got no verbal, nothing. Actually got noticed by the site director for maintaining 100% customer satisfaction out
So
of
how are
training.
you on a final?
Exactly what was my question. And my supervisor was like, well, you're on a final because you were leaving exits that you weren't supposed to be leaving at, which that is kind of true. It's not true in my sense, but it's true for the building that you can only go through certain doors because there's a bank on the other side of the building. And I asked the media, I'm like, that's funny because the only door I go through is the front door. So I want you to pull up the security tapes because I know you got them. I know you got them. This whole building is secure.
Mhm.
I want you to pull up the security tapes and show me where I was leaving out of. Because to my recollection, the only door I used was the front door to go in and out. The security guard can even confirm that sits in front of the door. She just kept stumbling. She was just like,
Mhm.
well, you know, I can't provide that right now. I'm like, well, then I cannot provide a signature on that final until I see that. She was like, well, you got to understand my position here, and you got to respect my position. I was like, but you also got to respect that I know my rights.
Mhm.
So until I see the security tapes, I'm not signing the final, and I'm not on the final. You got it? Like
I
she
got.
was like,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
well, you have to send this. You have to sign this right now, or I will fire. And I was like, well, I'm going to save you the job. And I just started packing up my desk. And she was like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm not dealing with this shit. You cannot pay me enough money in the world to lose my dignity because somebody white in this building has a power trip. Mm-mm. No. So deuces. And I just walked right out, and I have not gone back to a corporation ever since.
Amen for you. Amen for you.
I'm not as nice as my mom is.
Listen, the I have a couple when Scott and I were wandering because we just got a Nordstrom here in Manhattan. So we went wandering down. Just wandering through. People
Mhm,
would, can we help? Can we help? Can we help? Can we help? Mm,
mhm.
No, we're good. We're good. Scott goes away. A couple days later, I'm ready to purchase because I do all of our shopping because, it's what I do. So I'm walking through. Couldn't get a single person to help me, but I did have people following me around.
Mm-hmm.
Turn around and I was like, if you're gonna follow me, can you help me? I was like, yes, I know that you're security. I know that because remember when I worked at Bloomingdale's and you were security at Bloomingdale's, when I know that I look a little different now, but you worked with me at Bloomingdale's. So are you going to help me or can you get somebody to help me so I can give you some? No? All right. Just left the store.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started working at this other, that was just me recreationally shopping. Now, I started working at this company whose name I will not say. I'll tell you when we're not recording. But I started working at this company and they sent me down to Dallas for training, school, if you will. And one of the modules we would have to learn about, you had to learn about linen and wool and silk and cotton. It was a classroom full of 12 folks. Most of them were white. 2 black fellas. Me, this other guy. The instructor looks us right in the eye and says, you guys, you take cotton. And I looked at the black fella and I looked back at the instructor and I was like, let me get this straight. You want the 2 black men in the room to do a report on cotton? Then he says, yeah. It's like, okay. And so I stand up in front of the room. I was like, okay. It's not lost on me that a room full of white folks asked the 2 black men in the room to do a report on cotton. I guess it was because our ancestors picked them, but let me finish. And everybody in the room starts like folding papers and looking everywhere. It's like, oh.
They knew Bible well what they were doing.
You asked me to do a report on cotton.
Mm-hmm.
And you get uncomfortable when I point out the fact that, what?
Like 2 + 2 is not equaling 4 right now.
I was like, just because my people, my enslaved people from Mississippi picked a lot of cotton, I guess I know. So here we go. And it was, needless to say, for the rest of that week, that instructor and I were we had a contentious, combative relationship because I pointed out the fact that, you're doing some fairly racist shit here, sir. That wasn't his only microaggression. He was teaching people how to program and manipulate folks into buying things. And he says, well, if you're talking to a black guy, you have to say, yeah, what's up? It's like, no, that's not.
Just talk to them regular, like.
That's not. I wouldn't suggest that. I wouldn't suggest that. And I wouldn't suggest that. I wouldn't suggest that. And I wouldn't suggest you tell people. No, I wouldn't suggest any. Anyway. Okay, well, I think. Where'd you go? There you are.
Oh, did I disappear?
No, I did something. I did something weird. And I think the last question I want to ask you is, who's your favorite drag queen?
Who's my favorite drag queen? Ooh, it's so hard.
I know.
That is so hard. Because, as problematic as Shangela was, I still there's something about Shangela that just pulled me into her. Okay. But also, Ginger was also my other favorite drag queen.
Ginger,
Sexton.
Oh, Ginger Douglas. She's a
Yeah, Ginger
Douglas.
Douglas. Yeah,
Shit.
Douglas.
Now, I told
Mm,
you, go watch my conversation with Ginger and I.
I
Um,
will.
it's wonderful. And there's also a conversation between Venus and I, if you know Venus.
Yeah,
You,
I
you
do.
know Venus?
Hmm.
Venus and I met almost 20 years ago, I think,
Wow.
when she was performing at this bar in this little pussycat wig, and she was doing a Mary J. Blige song, doing shoulders and shit. And
Yeah.
tipped her a $5 bill, and she was just frozen. After the show, she comes up to me and she says, "Are you a model?" I was like, "Yas." I was like, "No, bitch, I'm not." And then she says, um, "Do you know a guy by the name of Steven?" I was like, "Yeah, Steven Dryer." And then she says, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, it's my ex-boyfriend." And she says, "Yeah, I'm dating him." I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Did you know he has poster-sized photos of you on his wall, lying down his hall to his bedroom?" I was like, "Yes, I did know that." So like, I I didn't even think you were a real person. And ever since then, she's like, "That's been my little sister. I love me some Venus."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't think of because one of my mom's best friends did drag too growing up too. Um,
What was her
so
name? Do you remember?
I don't remember what her name. His name outside of his persona is Brian.
Oh,
And
that
I
could be a
believe they
number of
met.
people.
Huh?
I say if he performed drag in Colorado around the 90s or what have you,
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure I know who she is, but I don't know whose boy name is Brian.
Yeah. I would send you a picture of him and see
Okay.
if you recognize him.
Mhm.
Because I grew up with him. He's always like he's been in my life for a long. He made me butterfly wings, and I wore them like every
That's
day because I'm obsessed
amazing.
with butterflies.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I kind of like grew up in the LGBTQ plus. There's too many damn letters now, but the LGBTQ plus community, and I think that's
I
the
feel like that made you a better person.
yeah. I feel like it gave me definitely that experience to like to just be more open to different types of people and different ways of life.
Do you feel like that is, well, before I answer my own question, do you feel like that's our way forward?
I think so too, and I think that's why um, I was trying to explain this to mom, like, because she still didn't understand like the idea of critical race theory, and I was
Hmm.
just like, I think that this is why it's important that they're pushing for the younger generation to learn about this, because you don't learn about that until college.
Not
It,
all of us need to learn about it.
yeah, everybody needs to learn
And
about
I
it.
think what's scaring people so much is the critical race theory title, because that
Mhm.
sounds so, it goes over people's head.
Yeah,
And
white
if
people
you
feel like it's just another tactic to demean them.
to make them feel bad about being white, but
Right? Yeah,
that's not what it is. It's teaching history in
there's
context. It's
context.
like we can't talk about the Civil War and say it's about states' rights, because you say, okay, it's about states' rights. States'
Hmm.
rights to what?
Right. Because
Enslavement.
mom didn't even know that white people got reparations after the Emancipation Proclamation.
Oh yeah, well, but again, that's
But
not a surprising thing, because I didn't
it's
know
not
that.
taught.
Here I am like, oh, okay, so you owned my ancestors, you let them go, they have absolutely nothing, and you get money.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Jim Crow, where we can go over here, but y'all are not going to give us any services or anything, or maybe the bare minimum. And
And tell
then
black people to build cities and then burn them down.
we get into we get into the civil rights, we move civil
Mhm.
rights. But then what happens is, ooh, look, we can live right here
Yeah.
in these little pockets of neighborhoods, these little red line neighborhoods. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but you don't move out of here. You can stay
Yeah.
right here, but we're not going to invest here. There's not going to be any infrastructure here. We're just going to give
Mm-hmm.
you the bare minimum. And then we're going to flood this neighborhood with drugs. And we're going to flood this neighborhood with cops.
Yeah.
And then we're going to tell everybody else that this neighborhood is filled with crime because we are criminalizing poor people for being poor.
Yeah. Exactly. And drug addicts for the drugs
For
that
being
were
sick. For
for
being
being
sick.
sick.
Because you know what? If we would have treated the crack epidemic like we're currently treating the opioid crisis, remember, crack epidemic, opioid crisis.
Crisis.
It's a crisis. And now I just saw that there's a $3 billion or $1 trillion settlement from all these opioid places. And now all of these oh my God, I'm so sick. I need some opioids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you get addicted to opioids because your doctor gives you opioids, and here's black woman over here with your hip all dislocated, and what you get, some chewable Tylenols.
Yeah, like amped up ibuprofen.
Yeah, they're like,
That
here,
I
girl,
can't
take these
take.
chewable Tylenols. Go on, birth our babies, carry our food, do our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit.
Yeah. It's
Okay, so you see the same hypocrisy as I do.
yeah,
All right.
definitely.
And I need you, like I know that you will, continue to call it out, stand strong in your beautiful black woman power. It was my sincere pleasure chatting with you today.
You as well.
And I am a better person for having had this conversation.
Me too. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold it 2 seconds. I'm going to turn this video off and I have some gossiping to do. Y'all, I forgot to do something. She did not plug any of her TikToks or any of her social medias because she said she was trying to pump it up and stuff. So tell people about your things.
I'm mainly on TikTok, which is Brooke Ashley _Virgo. Brooklyn Baps. I like the movie Baps. That's my initial too. On Instagram, and just Brooke Portley on Facebook.
Okay. And what kind of content do you create, Brooke?
All kinds of stuff. Like I do reaction videos. I do talk about like racism too as well.
I like
pretty
it.
much anything unjust I will talk about. I don't just only focus on Black issues. If I see something wrong, I'll speak on it.
That's the only way we can get it fixed. Because one of my theories is we can't fix a problem we're afraid to talk about. So let's stop avoiding talking about it and just talk the fuck about it. And when we talk about it, you're all like, wait, that sounds so dumb and I don't want to be dumb. So let's fix it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm actually going to turn off the recording.